Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Bob Power, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you've joined us for our next live presentation from Barksdale Resources. Before I introduce our speaker, a few points to note. Please submit your questions in the question box to the bottom left of the slides. Once the Q&A session has ended, don't log out. You'll automatically be transferred into the Barksdale Resources booth where you can continue to ask questions via chat and access additional shareholder materials. On a final note, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Rick Trotman, President and CEO of Barksdale Resources, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol BRKCF and on the TSXV under the symbol BRO. Welcome back, Rick.
Hi, Bob, and thanks for that warm welcome. Good afternoon to all of those on the East Coast, and good morning to everybody joining us from Pacific Time Zone, where I'm located. As Bob mentioned, this is Barksdale Resources. We are a base metal exploration company. I'm going to walk you through our investor presentation that's available on our website. I would encourage you to visit our website to learn more about our company. As these forward-looking statements would suggest, it's in your best interest to do all of the homework that you can do before making an investment in the junior mining space. I'm going to be making some forward-looking statements today, hopefully, foreshadowing things to come and talking about potential and things of that nature. So hopefully it's exciting, but don't forget to do your homework. So Barksdale is a base metal exploration company that's active in the desert Southwest. And that's the southwest portion of the United States in southern Arizona, as well as in northwestern Mexico, so in Sonora, Mexico. And so we have two districts that we're active in. The primary district is the Patagonia District. This is where we've been for the past 3.5 years, almost 4 years now. And this is where we're really bulking up our land position, and we've got some world-class projects sitting right next door to a monster resource that's owned by our next-door neighbor. And so we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. The second district that we are active in is the San Javier District in Sonora, Mexico. And this is a copper district with some gold. And it's something that we just picked up here, probably 6 or 7 months ago now. And we're really kind of revving up the engines, getting started on the exploration activity. And we'll talk about that just here in a second. So the capital structure of the company is actually quite interesting. We have a bunch of very large, very sophisticated shareholders that have been with us for quite some time. They understand the thesis of the company, why we're in this arena, and what our strategy is long term. And they've been supportive for quite a long time. And those include Osisko Development Corp. And Teck Resources, both of which are large diversified mining companies or large development companies, each over $1 billion in market cap. Additionally, we have a series of funds, high net worth individuals, and prominent folks within the mining industry that have significant positions in our company, including U.S. Global Investors, Crescat Capital, Delbrook, and Eric Sprott. And then I think most importantly, the management team and the board of Barksdale is all in. We have a lot of stock. We have about 7% of the company. And I personally have I have exactly 1 million shares of the company, all of which I've bought on market. And you can go through all of the filings and see exactly what my cost base is. So I'm very linked to this company's success, and I want to make sure that it does very well, just like all of the shareholders that I hope are buying in the market today. From a capital structure standpoint, we have about 63 million shares outstanding, some management incentive options, as well as warrants that were issued with our last financing in the fall of last year, which was a 38-cent financing. So all in, we're about 78 million shares fully diluted. We're trading about 50 cents today, which gives us a market cap of around 32 million Canadian. We have plenty of cash on the balance sheet to allow us to advance our exploration activities. And so we really won't need to go back to the market unless we hit some of our major milestones, which we will talk about later on in the presentation. And then finally, because you're all investors, you can go and look at our trading activity and, God forbid, buy some stock on the OTCQX, BRKCF, as well as the TSXV with the symbol BRO. So a little bit more about the management team, because at the end of the day, you're really investing in people with these exploration companies. My name is Rick Trotman, as Bob introduced me earlier. I am a professional geologist. I've been in the business for a while now, and I've done everything from pounding on rocks in the field, exploring for gold in Mexico and Nevada, to working as a stock analyst in New York City, to working at a private equity fund in Denver that focused on investing in the mining industry itself. So I've put a couple $100 million out the door investing in projects. And I came to Barksdale from that investment company because of the opportunity. I saw what the initial assets were at the company, and I thought that it could be so much more. And so 3.5 years ago, I joined and built a team that is kind of outlined on the rest of this page. And that includes Michael Walkirch, our CFO, Andrew Pooler, who is our Senior Vice President of Project Development. He's been in the industry for decades, has built numerous operations all throughout Latin America, the U.S., and Canada, has a wealth of experience, and he's really going to focus on our San Javier project. And then Tom Simpson, we brought in the fall of last year as well after our last financing. Tom has been active for over 40 years in exploration, a long time with ASARCO in the desert Southwest as well as other parts of Latin America. Has tons of experience looking for porphyry coppers and related deposits, which we'll talk about. Those are the types of deposits in our Patagonia District. And he's really going to be kind of pushing forward our exploration programs, which should start here shortly, actually. Ms. Terry Ann Wellicke, she's our VP of Corporate Communications. You can reach out to her directly at any time, and you can even go onto our website and schedule discussions with any or all of us through a nice little calendar scheduling program that she's put onto our website. Additionally, we've got Darren Blasutti on our board of directors. I just wanted to mention him quickly. He used to be the Senior Vice President of Corporate Development for Barrick Gold, and he's probably done $30 or $40 billion worth of M&A. And he's someone that we really wanted to bring onto the board to have that bench strength in case we get into discussions with any larger companies. Want to make sure that we tackle that correctly, and Darren gives us all the experience that we need to really navigate those waters. So I think we have the right team to push this forward, both from a management standpoint as well as the board. And what we're really looking to push forward is San Javier in the short term. And that's our copper gold project in Sonora, Mexico. And as you can see here on this picture, there's copper oxide just kind of oozing out of the surface of the ground. And this is really what we're focusing on here. It's a simple deposit from a logistics standpoint. It's 2 hours away from the major city of Hermosillo. It's kind of the mining hub of Sonora. It's right off the highway. Like you could literally, if you're standing on the top of the hill, you could hit the highway with a potato gun, I reckon. There's been tons of work here that we're taking advantage of. Lots of drilling that was done back in the 2004 to 2007 timeframe. And it's something that we think that is very actionable and that we're going to be working on very quickly. The reason that we're interested in San Javier is that it's kind of a neglected asset. The last company that had it back in the early 2000s, they went bankrupt because of a poorly performing asset in Utah. And this deposit was kind of the baby that was thrown out with the bathwater. It went into receivership with the rest of the company, and it sat on the shelf effectively for 12 years until we struck a deal with a private company to get an option over the deposit. And what it is an iron oxide copper gold system. It's got copper oxides at surface, so very shallow mineralization. It's got a historic resource of about 50 million tons of 0.35% copper, so about 500 million pounds of copper that we know about sitting at the surface. And it's also got a lot of gold in it, gold that was never really followed up on. You can see from these intercepts here, none of this was modeled from a geologic standpoint, and it's not really understood. So it's one of the focuses that we're going to have here when we start our drilling program in the summer. And there's also a high-grade component within San Javier. And so the last group that had this, they viewed it as a bulk tonnage deposit. And what that means is that they were literally looking to scrape the mineralization off the side of the hill, put it onto a heap leach pad, and leach out the copper. And with that type of an operation, you can really look at efficiently mining very low grades. But we think that the key to this deposit is the structures that control mineralization. And as you can see from some of these intercepts, there are some very good grades within San Javier that just simply weren't followed up on. You can see 6 meters of 9% copper and a gram gold, another 6 meters of 6.5% copper. These are subvertical, structurally controlled zones, and we think that we can very quickly add tons of copper, and those are TONNES, not just lots, and then some gold as well. And so this is where we're going to start focusing on initially, is figuring out the structural controls. Why is the copper where it's at? How did it get there? And are there zones that are considerably higher grade than some of the disseminated material that's just kind of oozing out of the side of the hill? And that's how we can expand the amount of copper that we know about within the same footprint. And then once we understand that, then we can go out and start making the deposit itself bigger from a footprint perspective, and then we can apply these learnings to elsewhere in the district where we know we have additional historic intercepts that just simply haven't seen the right amount of follow-up. So the real goals are, 1, figure out those high-grade zones. 2, use those learnings to go and find more. And then 3, apply it to the rest of the district. And we think that with those 3 technical objectives, we're going to be able to get the resource beyond the 500 million pound of copper mark, well in excess of 1 billion pounds over time. And that's what our goal is. And as you can see here, this is a district, right? So Cerro Verde is where we're going to start. It's in the background of this photo. We're probably going to start with a 3,000 to 5,000 meter drilling program. This says initiate in May, but it looks like that's going to slip out to probably late June because we've had some trouble with our subsidiary in Mexico. COVID has made it very difficult for us to get a couple of things that were necessary to get our permits submitted. Those are all being ironed out now, and we expect to be drilling here in the summer. And so we'll put some guidance out to the market here very shortly, and that will also start to talk about what the specific targets are at Cerro Verde, because we haven't put a lot of information out on this yet. And so look forward, stay tuned. We're going to kind of blitzkrieg the market here starting very soon with lots of information. In the middle ground is Mesa Grande, which is a secondary target that we'll tackle after Cerro Verde. It's got a bunch of historical drilling in it, probably a dozen holes, if not a little more, but they're too far spaced apart to actually put together a resource. But it's enough drilling to show us that there's definitely a mineralized zone there that we can go in and hopefully make much larger and fully explore. And then lastly, in the immediate foreground is La Trinidad. There's a historic resource of about 5 million tons here of higher grade copper. It's hosted in slightly different rocks, but nevertheless, we're going to tackle it in the same way as Cerro Verde and Mesa Grande, where we will apply our learnings to this zone and then kind of look to push it out and make it bigger. So lots of different pieces to this puzzle that we look to start drilling here shortly. And so that's Mexico. Like I said, we will have some guidance out here very shortly on what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and what the goals and objectives of those programs are. So keep your ear to the news wire. With respect to the rest of our holdings, they are all focused in southwest Arizona in what's called the Patagonia District. And this is the core asset of Sunnyside, but it's a longer dated asset. So this is where we think the the long-term significant upside, kind of big swing type potential is located. And we've been methodically building our land position in this district around our core asset, Sunnyside, for 3.5 years. And the reason that we're so hyped up about this district is that our project is immediately next door to a monster. South32, who has all of the land in blue, purchased this land position for $2 billion a couple of years ago and are actively pushing forward the development of a high-grade, world-class zinc, lead, silver mine. And we share that deposit with them, and we're going through a permitting process right now to allow us to drill the other side. And so as you can see when we kind of zoom in here, the footprint of that world-class deposit is outlined in white, and you can see it there kind of in the middle of that sea of blue. There's no reason that that deposit should stop at the property boundary with us. And in fact, we have historical drill holes on our side of the property, which were actually the discovery holes for this entire system, that show that this deposit keeps on trucking. It goes onto our property. That's going to be the focus of our exploration. Everything between the yellow dashed line around what says Sunnyside Porphyry, that's a large porphyry copper deposit that caused the formation of this side deposit called Taylor to the right. And I know that that can be a bit difficult for some folks to understand. So I have a picture from a three-dimensional model that'll be on the next slide that'll give you a better perspective. But anyway, speaking about those holes, the discovery holes, we have the knowledge that this deposit exists and that it's on our side of the deposit, or our side of the property boundary. As you can see here, TCH2, this is the drill hole that really confirms it. We've got 17-meter intercepts of 17% lead zinc, 1% copper, and about 10 ounce per ton silver. Same hole, a little deeper, we've got a 38-meter intercept of 15% lead zinc and about 7 ounces per ton silver. So we know it's there. We know it's high grade. The key is going to be getting our permits from the U.S. Forest Service and getting in there and drilling the holes. And so we expect to, based on our current timeline, to get our preliminary approval for Sunnyside here in August. And then after a couple of months of objection periods and things of that nature, we should have final approval and the ability to post our bond late this year. Hopefully we can get a drill rig on the ground before the end of the year. If not, it would be in January of 2022. And again, we'll have some guidance out here shortly. We wrapped up our last public comment period actually 1 month ago today. And so we are holding to our current timeline, and hopefully we will continue to do so. And like I said, we're right next door to a major development. So you can see here there's 2 underground access points on the left-hand side of the screen from South32's operation. They're going underground, and they're really in the process of building a mine here. And so they're building the head frame that we're going to be in the shadow of. And obviously, if we can flesh out a large high-grade resource adjacent to an operating mine, it'll have significant value, and that's our goal here. From a 3D perspective, everything on the left-hand side of this property boundary, the blue line, is on the Sunnyside property. And so you can see here there's a very large blue blob, and that's a copper porphyry called the Sunnyside Porphyry. It was the heat engine, if you will, that caused the formation of the Taylor carbonate replacement deposit, which is outlined in red. And as you can see, that deposit keeps on going over the property boundary, and we expect it to really flesh out in between the porphyry and the known drilling intercepts. And so what we expect is to drill around the porphyry, where we think we have the prospective host rocks, the carbonates, all the way to the property boundary. And if you think about this in 3D, it actually can be quite a large area. And so again, with an underground mine being built right next door, all of the infrastructure going into place, having a large high-grade resource adjacent to, what will be an operating mine, that will have a lot of value in the market, and that's the value that we look to unlock for all of our shareholders. In the same district, about 2 or 3 kilometers to the southeast, we have another project called San Antonio. This is more of a greenfields exploration property. So, Sunnyside, we know that there's mineralization there. It's just a matter of figuring out how much and what quality that mineralization is. San Antonio is really an undrilled, untested greenfields project covered by gravel. So the only way that we can really determine if we've got mineralization there is to drill it. And we have our permit with the U.S. Forest Service pretty much done at San Antonio. And so we're waiting for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to provide a biological opinion. They're a bit of a black box as far as operating timeline. So that could come any day or, even a month or two from now. So we're very excited to get that drilling program going. It'll be a very quick test and reverse circulation program. It'll get completed in about a month, and that'll give us all the information we need to understand if we've got a deposit there or not. That way we can, make our plans to permit a much larger program if indeed we do have a porphyry discovery. And the last time a significant porphyry has been found in the U.S., it was probably a resolution back in the mid-90s. So, finding a porphyry that's anything like the other porphyries in this same district, kind of billion-ton porphyries at, 0.3 to 0.5% copper, at surface, that would be significant. So we're very excited about this. And these are just some geophysical graphics that show you where our target is. And as I said before, it's a blind target. It's covered by gravel. So the only real reason there, the only real information that we have is geophysically based. So hopefully we will get in there and test this soon once the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has given us their opinion. So, milestones. In San Javier, we're nearly complete with our community agreement. We'll have some news out on that here shortly. Same goes with our environmental permit related to drilling. We will have a nice drilling program that starts here in the summer. Again, we'll have some information coming out via press release here quite soon. San Antonio, at any moment, we could get a drill permit there. So look for that. And then, as I said, for Sunnyside, we're looking for August for preliminary approval, end of year to really, kind of start the fireworks show and start drilling those big deep holes that will hopefully have lots of high-grade copper, zinc, lead, and silver mineralization. And so with that, I think I've reached the end of the presentation. As I stated before, feel free to give Terry Ann a call anytime. Also, visit our website. It does have a mechanism that allows you to schedule a meeting directly with Terry Ann, myself, or whoever you would like to speak with at the company, and we'll get connected with you and answer all your questions. So with that, I will open it up to questions from the audience. And the first question is, why was San Javier idle since 2007? Great question. So as you may or may not know, the copper runs in cycles. And the last big upswing in copper prices was kind of 2004 to 2008-ish, where copper was well above $4 a pound. And then when the financial crisis occurred, copper really sunk, and it was kind of in a low spot for multiple years. And so when Constellation Copper, the last owner, went bankrupt in 2000, I think it was late 2008, this project kind of sat on the shelf because of low copper prices. And on top of that, they had some issues with the title because Constellation didn't have the tightest legal agreements, and once they went bankrupt, there were some issues with title because one of the folks that they bought the property from had passed away, and they had to go back to family members and deal with all this stuff. So anyway, it was a bit messy, and people don't like messy. Mining companies, exploration companies, they want to buy something that's pretty and nice and that they can go talk to investors about without any hassle. And there was some hassle, and so that's where we found the opportunity, right? All those legal things had been cleared up effectively by the time that we had entered into the option over the project, and we like buying things at a discount. And we knew a copper price swing was going to come, and we timed it perfectly. Now, I wish COVID didn't hit, so we'd have our drill permit already, but, c'est la vie. We're going to have it, and you guys are going to be able to experience the upside there. Next question, is the Hermosa project active? Indeed it is. So South32 is scheduled to put out a pre-feasibility study here before the end of the quarter. That'll outline their plans to move forward and develop this project. In the meantime, they've got 2 declines going down underground into the deposit itself. They've got a water treatment plant, dry stack tailings facility. They're actively drilling deposit to make the resource larger. And they've applied for state permits to expand their water treatment plant and push their declines deeper to access the ore body itself. So these are all moving closer and closer towards production. I would suspect that within 5 years, this mine will be operating. That's just my personal estimate. We'll see what South32 puts forward when they put out their pre-feasibility here shortly. But just to note, South32, which is a diversified, multi-billion-dollar company, acquired this project next door for $2 billion in cash at the PEA level, right? Which is just kind of it shows you how much they valued the exploration potential to buy such an early stage project. And so we have the same potential on our ground. We just need to get a permit to search for that mineralization and see how much we have. They have the luxury of being on some private ground, so they can drill very quickly and very fast. They have the ability to drill very fast. And so that's something that we wish we had, but we've got to go through the process. And luckily, after 3 years, I think we're at the very, very end of that process, and we see the light through the end of the tunnel. Okay, one more question here. San Javier may be an IOCG, which is an iron oxide copper gold deposit. Are there magnetite iron oxide units in the area? Yes, in Sonora there are magnetite deposits. In this deposit specifically, and there's 2 different camps. Some think it's an IOCG because there are a ton of specular hematite, not a lot of pyrite, a couple other technical geeky geology things that I can say here. Others think it's porphyry related, and that there's some coal seams in the units below the volcanics where San Javier are at, and so they think that you could actually get fluids moving through those coals, and hence that's where you get the oxidized fluids. We will see when we drill it and get more information. And then the other question here is the OTCQB group is in the area, and yes, indeed. So immediately to the east of San Javier, OTCQB Development has a project called San Antonio, which is a gold project that they're looking to put into production later this year or early next year. And we're right next door to that. We have gold on our property. They have copper on their property. And so them being our largest shareholder, I think we're in a very good position to work with them to explore the whole district. And once they have gold infrastructure and we have copper infrastructure, I think that there's a lot of synergies that could be exploited here, and look forward to more on that subject, over the course of this year. All right, and so that's all the questions that I see in the queue, and it looks like that my time is just about up. So just to recap, Barksdale, you can look at us at BRKCF on the OTCQX, as well as BRO on the TSXV. Again, reach out to us anytime. We're here to answer your questions and make you comfortable as shareholders. And thank you again for attending the presentation.